The kingdom will take you new places, and it'll mysteriously change the way that you see everything in life. It shouldn't just be a slight upgrade. Being a Christian and living in the kingdom of God shouldn't just feel like a bit of an upgrade or a promise of eternity one day or something. It's kind of like that first ride. And it changes everything. And that's why Jesus called it good news. The kingdom is about living and loving and leaving our purposeless and passionless quest for the American dream to just crazily and whimsically follow Jesus on his great mission to transform the lives of people on every street in our cities and in every home in our neighborhoods. But you know what? Most of us settle for memories and mundane religion and what could be and what if, and I guess it's just that way. And we know things about the gospel, and we've heard a zillion sermons that are called the gospel, but we really don't know the gospel, and we don't know how to speak it into every area of life and how it applies to good news, bad news, joys, pains.
Welcome to the Everyday Disciple Podcast, where you'll learn how to live with greater intentionality and an integrated faith that naturally fits into every area of life. In other words, discipleship as a lifestyle. This is the stuff your parents, pastors, and seminary professors probably forgot to tell you. And now, here's your host, Caesar Kalinowski.
Thank you, Heath. It is super good to be with you again this week, and our awesome listeners.
Yeah.
I continue to be so encouraged by the emails we get and stuff going on Facebook, and man, the last few episodes have just been a blast, and they've been great.
So today we're going to talk about how the kingdom of God is actually now among us and available to be lived
right
in
now.
Even today.
Yeah. Heath, can you imagine if eternity is a lot like our current religion and church services? It's going to be really long.
It's like my grandma used to tell me, you wear your robes and you float around and you sing songs.
Did she really say it?
Oh, yeah. And I'm like, oh,
the
God.
Bugs Bunny cartoon version of heaven.
Yeah. I was like, is there any other options? Well, it's hell.
Well, see, but partly because, to use a big old Christian-y Bible word, eschatology,
There you go.
We don't really know what it's going to look like.
Yeah.
Really, because it's all allegory and, there's descriptions, but it's like, wait a minute, that's not saying actually that, anyway.
Yeah,
and so we're all, opinions are all over the map, but so we're like, oh, so what are we're left to think? It's probably a lot like church services.
Yeah.
We're like, no way.
Please no.
I can't do that. I can't do that song forever. I never liked it the first.
Except you're looking at your watch, for what time lunch is
And
coming.
once again, we sound we hate church services. I don't.
But no, we love most of them. So today we're talking about the kingdom of God, and one of the things we're hitting on is gospel fluency.
Yeah, probably if our listeners follow us, they've heard that term before.
Yep.
Right? Gospel fluency. This fluency is a word connected to language. Yeah, it's the ability to sort of understand and speak into and understand and for yourself and others and speak good news into every area of life. But it's such a big deal because our understanding of the gospel is basically how we see who God is. Yeah. And it's like what we think is going to happen for eternity. And do we actually believe it started already? Or is it something we're waiting for? Because I've said it before, but for so many of us, our understanding of the gospel is so dinky, so small, so truncated, so not actually the gospel, that it was primarily about saying a prayer and then waiting for some sort of eternity to start or heaven.
Yeah.
And there is heaven coming, and we've already entered into eternal life according to Scripture. But it is so much bigger and such good news than just kind of waiting around for something. It's now, man.
It happens here and now,
Yeah, and we've said this in many episodes, but it's the truth, and it's really at the core of why we even do this whole podcast. It's because how does faith in the gospel and who God is and what's true of us now fit into all of life and every area of life? And how do we grow in that, right? Because I tell you what, the way I was raised, and I was born in the church, and I still love it, but it wasn't necessarily a whole lot about now.
Sure.
Right? And so we're going to keep pushing that. We're going to keep pushing that in every topic, and we're going to keep getting after the fact that eternity has begun, that the kingdom's now, where it can bring heaven to earth, and the gospel is the good news and the answer to everything. So
when I first heard this concept of gospel fluency, you were talking about it, and just like you did in the concept of language, where did this concept for you? It made sense because fluency and language go together. Where did this concept come from in your own life?
Well, yeah, I think my friend Jeff Vanderstelt was probably the first guy that ever put those two words together. Just to give credit where credit's due, like this idea of speaking it with fluency.
Thanks, Jeff.
Yeah, thanks, Jeff. And I'll tell you, like, as a bit of an illustration, I've visited Eastern Europe many times, and a lot of time spent in Czech. And
Okay.
people who follow me might have heard me tell this story before, but I've learned a little bit of their language. I know enough. I've learned a little bit of Czech. But when I try to speak Czech, I end up sounding more like a caveman. Like I was just in Poland a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
At the time we're recording this, I was just in Poland, and just a little bit of working holiday, and Czech and Polish is pretty close. Man, oh man, I tell you, man, I'm busting out what I got, and it ain't great. It doesn't sound like good news. Let's just say that. and I wonder if how we sound to other people when we try to talk about religion in the kingdom, and it's such good news.
Sure.
We're like, doesn't sound like good news.
Yep.
We try to describe our spiritual rhythms of life, or our churches and all. They're like, doesn't sound that great. And I think what it is it's because we're not fluent in the good news and how it's good news for every area of life. We kind of have canned presentations or a little corner of the gospel. We understand truth, but it's not the whole truth.
Yeah.
It's not the whole big gospel. It's like, hey, that's part of the gospel. Yep, it is. Is it true? Yep. There's 1,000 times more, 1,000,000 times more. And so it doesn't necessarily, it's not fluency. You know what I mean? Like the way we sound to people sound a little bit like my Czech to a Czech waitress or Polish bartender.
I might know what he's talking about.
I kind of think I know what he's saying, and wow, that's embarrassing.
Yeah. And you were saying even just right here before we started recording about a story with a motorcycle, right? And how that kind of plays into this.
Yeah, unrelated, but related, right?
Yeah.
So, check it out. A few years ago, 6 years ago, to be exact.
Okay.
No surprise there. But I received the best gift I ever got in my life. It was really, really good news. Okay. So, way back machine, I've grown up riding Harleys my whole life, and I loved them, and I loved them. And I, 6 years ago, didn't have one because like years ago as a parent, I had sold my Harleys, and just, braces, summer camp, shoes.
They haven't sponsored our show yet either. So
Yeah, no, I know. I'm giving them some hit, right? Anyway, and I'm starting to really get the itch again. And I'm going into Harley shops on vacation, and whenever I drive past one, and I'm kind of ogling the new models, and I'm buying the occasional magazine full of bikes and all that, right? And man, oh man. So in like what was a jaw-dropping surprise for my 50th birthday, my son, little C, Caesar the Fourth, right? He gave me a beautiful black and chrome Harley.
Wow.
I mean, it's crazy. He gives me this little bag, with a couple of gifts in it, and there was a letter. And in the letter, he just said all the nicest things in the world about me. Like it was like everything a dad would hope to hear eventually from his son.
Sure.
Hoping it was true. But then he also said, hey, you gave me a love for bikes and Harleys, and it's not right that I have a couple and you don't have one. And he gave me one. There was a title in there, and
wow,
it's out in the garage right now. You know what I mean? It's like, it was just amazing, right? And I mean, I was proud, right? And other guys, when I showed it to them, were like, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe it!" And expressing their desire to join me. Wish I had a son that would give me a bike. Whenever I tell this story, it's like, "You hear this, son?"
Wish it was my boy.
Exactly, right? Yeah. And but I'll tell you, it's been a few years now, right? And I've had that bike, and I love it. And so when I can't ride, because often that's the case here in the Pacific Northwest because of the rain, I like to just go out in the garage and start it.
Huh.
It's got 2-inch straight pipes. It's crazy loud. I mean, literally it shoots fire. Turn the lights off at night. Fire it up.
Cool.
I'll fire it up for little kids thinking, oh, they're going to like this. And they grab the thing and then they cry. It's so loud, right? It's amazing. And don't get me wrong. I really enjoy looking at it and, and shining it up and firing it up and all that. But, over time you start to go like, man, it'd be great to ride this thing.
Sure.
Like it's way better to ride it.
What it was intended to do.
Yeah, exactly. Right. And I can imagine the wind in my face and, the sea breeze if I'm riding around the coast down here and all of that. And, but, just looking at the bike and remembering past moments of glory don't really do it anymore.
Sure.
Because I've been, like I said, I've been riding since I was young, and I always want to get back on that bike and ride again. That thug of that Harley and the engine, and just for those of you who don't ride Harleys, you may don't know it, but those you do, I know it. And I want to smell the exhaust and I want to feel it. So, like, if you've been following me for a long time, or even for a little while, listening to Heath and I on the podcast, you've heard us say that our whole approach is to move beyond concepts.
Yeah.
Move beyond a concept of religion or concept of the gospel. And small momentary experiences or memories of the past don't get it for us. Just traditions, because, well, that's what we've always done. We want to really experience the ride,
Yeah.
the
exactly.
wind in our face now.
Yep.
And not just go and shine it up and talk about how great it was, right?
Yeah, it has to be felt.
So, I mean, that's how the gospel is too. We have such ancient, sort of small understandings of it. It's kind of like going out in the garage and just looking at it, or like looking at pictures of, like, my grandpa used to ride. It's like,
Yeah.
great. Wouldn't it be great to ride?
Yeah.
Wouldn't it be great if
Absolutely.
eternity was now? Yeah.
So I kind of get, I get what you're saying. My question is, like, why do you think this is so important for Christians to get? And the
The
opposite
Harley
of that
part or
question-
the gospel part?
the gospel part. Yeah. Every Christian needs a Harley, is what I'm hearing. So why is it so important for Christians to get this gospel? And what do you think happens when we don't, or we think we do, but we might not getting the fullness of it?
Well, yeah, great question, man. Obviously, I think a lot of people think they get it.
Yeah.
And I'd say you probably get parts of it. I'm not here to tell everybody what they know or don't know.
Sure.
But see, the gospel proclaims that the kingdom is now.
Hmm.
And it's among us, and it's available to be lived in. And this life, which can be experienced and enjoyed and offered to those around us,
Yep.
is kind of like jumping on your first Harley.
Hmm.
Okay? The kingdom will take you new places, and it'll mysteriously change the way that you see everything in life. It shouldn't just be a slight upgrade. Being a Christian and living in the kingdom of God shouldn't just feel like a bit of an upgrade
Sure.
or a promise of eternity one day or something. It's kind of like that first ride.
Hmm.
And it changes everything. And that's why Jesus called it good news. The kingdom is about living and loving and leaving our purposeless and passionless quest for the American dream to just crazily and whimsically follow Jesus on his great mission to transform the lives of people on every street in our cities and in every home in our neighborhoods. But you know what? Most of us settle for memories and mundane religion and what could be and what if, and I guess it's just that way. And we know things about the gospel, and we've heard a zillion sermons
Sure.
that are called the gospel, but we really don't know the gospel. And we don't know how to speak it into every area of life and how it applies to good news, bad news, joys,
Right.
pains.
So oftentimes, the Western way of viewing things is such a personal, like, my own relationship with Jesus. It's not important for you. It's not your concern. It's me and God. Why do you think that this concept of growing in gospel fluency, why do you think we need to grow in that personally, but also like in family and how that plays out in a community sort of life?
Well, I'll have to answer in a couple pieces.
Sure.
But that's, man, you're right on the nose with that. Well, haven't spent years like concerned about this and speaking to it and writing it and pastoring people who are asking these same kinds of questions and feeling the ineffectiveness of applying more traditional spiritual disciplines,
Right.
right? I began to wonder how the apostles, guys like Paul and Peter, and the other disciples, how did they manage to live such transformed lives? Lives that were not only personally transformed, like you're saying, right?
Sure.
But also changing the world and changing their oikos, their community around them, the cities they lived in.
Right.
And don't get me wrong, I'm in favor of, and I found like super benefits from, many of the more traditional forms of spiritual disciplines. Time in the Word each day, prayer. Off and on, I've kept a journal,
Sure.
even prayer walking and stuff, just going around seeing need and talking to God about it. But those, quote, disciplines can easily leave you sort of, staring at your Harley instead of actually riding it. And starting with Jesus and his original disciples, people who have changed the world found a beautiful connection between spiritual disciplines and the vibrant life of God's Spirit-led mission. And they understood the real gospel. They were living out of the gospel. They had great, to use that term, gospel fluency. And that's why it's so important, because we're not going to change the world and change our communities and leave a lasting legacy for our families and our kids, that they're just in love with God, in love with Jesus and his good news, if all we have to offer up is just tradition and religion. Not going to happen.
Absolutely, man. Well, there is some good news even to this podcast, in that there is a resource out that has been absolutely helpful, not just for me, but it's been used by tens and tens of thousands of people over the last couple of years. And what it is ultimately, it's an 8-week guide to transformation in community that includes daily activities, but teaches how to grow in different areas, gospel fluency, gospel listening. I've used it in our missional community, and everybody that has been in church for their whole life got massive amounts of goodness out of this, like new truths, new things being unveiled in their heart. I personally have loved it. I love the daily layout of it. And it's called the Gospel Primer, and it's amazing.
Full disclosure, I was privileged to write it.
Yeah.
I actually say I didn't write it. I just wrote it down because it was so shaped in community and by the lives and words of so many people. But full disclosure, Heath's tooting my horn, I suppose, but it's not really my horn. I just was the guy who got to write it down.
Sure.
And then Missio Publishing put it out, and it's been the craziest adventure to watch people all over the world use it. And
well, I know sometimes some of these thoughts are like, I remember when I first heard of gospel fluency, I wasn't even living here in Washington, and it was kind of this nebulous idea, and I wanted to figure out how to practically work it out, and I couldn't figure out how to do that. And at this time, the book wasn't out. So this resource has actually helped put some legs on it and some daily practices where I'm actually able to go, oh, I do agree with that. And here's how I can actually start practicing. Like, here's how I slowly put one leg over the Harley bike,
Yeah, some people listen and probably go like, yep, been there, used it. And we've never got a bad review or a bad But if you've not, I hope it's okay.
Yeah.
I want to talk about it a little bit because there's some cool, exciting stuff coming that I'm trying to figure out, like, okay, what else could I give people to really help them engage this and help their people engage it, like their churches or their small groups or missional communities. But if it's cool, I just want to talk about a little bit about that rhythm you were talking about.
Yeah, I would love to unpack that a bit.
So the Gospel Primer is about learning how the gospel of Jesus Christ transforms, first off, your identity and reshapes the very rhythms of your life. And that's why it's kind of 8 weeks daily done in community with others. Not like you have to live in the same place, but I'll explain all that in a minute. But it begins to reshape our language and our identity and our rhythms. And it's about becoming so familiar with the power and the purpose of the gospel that it flows out of your life and words in normal, yet pretty extraordinary ways. Now, when the gospel increasingly transforms your life and your perspectives and your priorities, then what happens is we become the good news to everyone. Like just in showing up, we do, because the gospel's leaking out of us. That's that gospel fluency again. And we become a living proclamation and display of who God is and the God that we love in his kingdom. And that's very different than just an invitation to an event.
Yeah.
That's the good news with flesh on.
Yep.
That's what Jesus came to be, and that's who we are and get to be now. And the Gospel Primer kind of works us through that with some daily rhythms and 8 different teachings, because it's an 8-week study but done in community, and it helps to establish that new language and rhythms and beliefs in your heart.
Yeah. And what's great is it's quick moving, but it's also not like, hey, let's sign up for a 1-year program. It's like, no, 8 weeks, anyone can do it for 2 months.
Yeah. So without getting into too much detail about it, there's 7 days in a week, right? Of the 8 topics, and I'll just share them real briefly in a second here. Here's how the rhythm of using this thing in community looks like, okay? And then I've not found anybody where this is too heavy of lifting.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I just can't do it. It's too much. It's like, it's every day. It's like, hold on, So the first day of the 7 days, every week follows the same rhythm. The first day is exploration. Okay. And it introduces you to the subject of that week, something to do with gospel fluency. And like I said, I'll share those topics in a minute. And it provides thoughts and stories and definitions to kind of help you get going in understanding that concept. So that's kind of what the first day does. And then, like always, there's questions that you engage in and you write down and you journal. And this thing's beautiful. If people haven't seen it, it's like a piece of art.
It is amazing.
This gospel primer is like a art piece, right?
It's beautiful.
And so it kind of just keeps you flowing in the journey of answering these questions. Yeah. And it's not like fill in the blank stuff, like right or wrong answers. It's gonna expose your heart and unbelief to yourself and all that. It's meant to. And there's only 4 or 5 questions, like on a day or something, but they're heavy. Second day is a meditation day. Okay. And we'll provide you with scripture and some further ideas to soak in for a while, to kind of take what you explored the day before, the new concept, and kind of meditate on the word. What's the word say about that? Third day of the week is a change day. And that's where you start to get serious. Like, what does this idea and understanding the gospel mean for my life? How would my life be different if I began to let it be changed by the gospel in this way?
Sure.
Pretty powerful, right? So, and again, there's some questions for journaling. Day 4 is an action day, because part of a new rhythm of life is a new rhythm of life, not just a new way of thinking. Our minds, our hearts are renewed. But day 4 is action day, and your heart's starting to change. You're getting sanded on a little bit by these concepts, meditation, and the change day where you go like, okay, what could it look like? Action day, you actually get out and do something. You put some of these things into practice. And so we give you like pretty easy, but sometimes a little scary, little practices to go out and try and do. Like the first, some of the first ones, just like go outside and notice this, write down what you think, why this is not that way, or what, you know what I mean? So it's not heavy, but you do actually have to get out and apply what you're learning.
Sure.
Day 5 is always community day. So the people that you're going through this simultaneously with in your church, like if you're doing it as a whole church or if it's your small group or your missional community, you come together, and this actually models. It's meant to be a model for like, okay, what would all of life look like if we were all on the same page, had the same fluency, the same language of the gospel? And you not only discuss what you've been learning all week, but sometimes there's additional activities that you'll do and kind of dig out together.
Yeah.
And that feedback and sort of honesty with each other is pretty big.
Yeah.
The gospel happens in community. Day 6 is calibration day, and we kind of revisit the theme for that week, but from a different angle.
Yep. Flip the lens on it.
Yeah, we flip the lens, exactly. And you kind of wrestle with the topic again, allowing God to bring transformation from a different angle.
Okay.
And then day 7, we call it recreate. It's the last day of our cycle, and it includes time to rest and reflect. We call it recreate because it's like rest in God's completed work in this area of your life already. Because the good news is it's already been done.
Yeah.
And then out of that, you create and work and all that. So that last day is a day to like really just like savor the good news of the gospel and rest in it. Right.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of the rhythm, man. That's kind of the rhythm of what, you'd experience if you were going through this. And each day, I would say, you've been through it. How long? Each day is what, 15 minutes maybe?
15, 20 minutes.
Yeah. Except for action day might take you half hour.
Yep.
And then community day, we suggest getting together for a meal and working
and
through
we did
this.
it every week over a meal. And actually one of the challenges is to make a meal together on one of those nights where everyone kind of brings some stuff. And
that's coming later as we start to move into like identity and the rhythms of life and community. So not only is the gospel primer kind of helping you grow in your understanding of eternity now, the good news speaking into everything and all kinds of 8 different ways to do this, but it's also starting to set up new life rhythms as a community that sort of propel you outward.
Yeah, which is great.
Because it's pretty easy to be the navel-gazing small group that just studies the sermon outline from Sunday, and so what'd you get out of it? You know what I mean? But what if we actually had to go out and live that and then give each other feedback and kind of call each other's unbelief? Yeah. That's what's going on with this.
Yeah, you're right, man. So there's 8 weeks to this gospel primer, and I remember having gone through it. It's amazing. You want to run through kind of what those weeks look like with the topics?
Yeah, I don't want to get into crazy long stuff here because, we'll have links in the show notes where people can check it out. And I got a pretty cool offer, some new cool stuff coming up. But so the first week is what is the gospel?
Yep.
And I'm going to really expand how
Let me guarantee you, if you think you know what it is, you're going to start off here and go like, well, might have had that wrong.
Way bigger.
It's way bigger.
Way better news, right?
Yeah.
The second week, we look at the story of God, and we kind of do a pretty quick fly through of the whole arc, the whole redemptive arc of history, and how it speaks into our identity and our motivations. Really, really fun. Then the third week, we get into like, okay, in light of God's story, how would you tell your own story?
Sure.
Sometimes call our testimony. Could we learn to tell our story in light of God's story? Yeah, you can, and it's crazy powerful. Fourth week, we flip that around. We go like, well, if my story fits that same mold of God's story, I wonder if everybody else's in life does. Guess what? Surprise, it does. And once you start to learn to listen through that lens, call it gospel listening, wow, man, now you start to know, oh, that's what the good news would be to that person.
Yep.
Or to myself or my spouse or whatever. Yeah. The next week, we look at 4 eternal truths about God that, when not believed, lead to every sin. And in a few weeks, we've got an episode coming up where I'm going to even talk about that a little bit. We call them the 4 Gs and all. And I'm not kidding you, it'll change forever how you look at sin and give you a way out of it. Then we're going to look at the power and the purpose of the gospel in week 6. And we're gonna look at both power and purpose. We call it the 2 lenses.
Yep.
And how some of us have been raised with only one of the 2 lenses, and that's why we don't understand the full gospel. And then week 7, you look at your identity. Where does our identity actually come from? Bible teaches we're created in the image of God.
Sure.
Does that mean like we got the same color hair or eyes or skin color? Like what's it really mean?
Right.
Theologically, how does it flow? And what does that have to do with the gospel? It's huge. It's really the core of it. And then week 8, we look at normal rhythms of everyday life and how the gospel begins to speak into those. Super practical, all broken down. And this is where, like you were already referencing, Heath, where we'll do some things together. We'll create some things together, have a meal together, invite some other people involved in it.
Yep.
We get to practice sort of our story
Yeah.
and all these kind of things. But really, it's very casual and but powerful because
And that's what
it's
we
very
loved about it.
intentional.
Yeah, even in our missional community, it was great because we're all learning together. There's grace to go, I don't know what's going on here, or we're practicing. It's like we're all trying to swim together.
Yeah.
And like learning what this feels like. And
We used to do all this same stuff for years in our missional communities, Tina and I and others, but we didn't have it like in a cool little format, this beautiful like art piece. So it was just like scraps of notes and a piece of that and a piece of this. And people are like, man, I want to reproduce this with others. And it's like, well, here's a pile of notes, you know. And so I'm so grateful for the Gospel Primer. And like I said, that I had the privilege to write it down.
Yeah.
And it's now available. And so many people have used it. So, man, I hope that our listeners today go like, man, that sounds exactly what I need for my church, or my small group, or my missional community.
And it sounds like this is for everybody. I know I've raised in the church, thought I had a good grasp on stuff, and this blew my mind. And I'm thinking
I'd say if you've been in a small group or you have a missional community, but you're not feeling like it's really getting down to that real level of like, we're really doing life on life and we're able to speak the good news and sometimes even the hard truth in love.
Yeah.
How do we do that more? This is for you. And I'll say that I've been in a lot of small groups over the years, not good ones always, you know, and even missional communities that flubbed. This is, if there's a secret sauce, this is it. It's growing in our gospel fluency so that our fear of man, our weirdness, everything's offensive.
Yep.
I don't want to speak the truth in love. I don't want anybody really speaking into that. That's my business. That's not yours. Hey, those are my kids. All that stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, what if that all changed? What if there was good news for all that? How would we really begin to live together? And then how attractive would that life and community look like to others?
Yeah.
How attractive would your church be if everyone really believed the gospel, lived out a kingdom, eternity now lifestyle increasingly? Because you're not going to do it in 8 weeks perfectly, you know.
Sure.
But what would that look like? And talk about attractional church.
Oh, yeah, man. It's beautiful.
The church is people, and if people live in this way, people would be like there's scripture that says like they were violently beating the doors down to get into the kingdom. This is why.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah. This is
So
why.
I don't know if I'm allowed to reveal this yet, but we were talking beforehand, and there's some stuff you're even doing with this gospel primer that's pretty exciting. Some new stuff. That you're creating. Can we talk about that?
Yeah, by the time this airs, by the time folks are hearing this, this is going to be, there'll be a link for you.
Okay.
So yeah,
Tell me about this.
Yeah, I want to make this even easier for leaders who are busy as heck, either leading a small group or missional community or like leading whole churches, because we've had this happen where like a whole church has gone through the gospel primer. And it's like a sea change. Like it changes their culture.
Sure.
Like, because of course the gospel would, right?
Yep.
And so here's what I have just finished, putting a bow on. I've created 8 sermon outlines. So for each week of the gospel primer, a sermon outline that doesn't just kind of, rehash what's in the primer, but kind of takes a nugget out of it and focuses on it.
It's cool.
For the pastor to be able to, if you're a teacher or preacher, like just really deliver the goods on that.
Mm-hmm.
And you can either do it before your people go through it that week in the primer, or they just went through it that week. And now you go like, I want to highlight one aspect of something we discussed this week in community.
It's cool.
Right. And along with those sermon outlines, video for each week. So you can kind of throw up a little, minute to 2 minute little video,
Yeah.
part of your kind of sermon prep and all. And it's just kind of a visual to kind of give you that. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to take a lot of the heavy lifting out. I mean, I know when I was having to like write up those sermons, like a lot of, week after week kind of thing.
Sure.
And now I've come along a primo resource. It's like, but how do I tie these together? I wanted to make it super easy for leaders out there, pastors out there, preachers out there. They'll say, I want to take my whole church through this thing. Yeah. And so here's the sermon outlines. You put your own illustrations in, but it's all kind of laid out for you. Here's a cool video, make you look like a rock star. You put it up. And you know what else? It's free. And I want to give you a gospel primer for free.
That's cool.
Just for asking. So there'll be a link in our show notes.
Yeah.
That I will send you a gospel primer, and it's beautiful. There's no digital version because this thing's like a work of art. It's a journal. Yep. And the sermon outlines and the 8 videos. And all you have to do is pick up like shipping and handling on the book. Okay.
Amazing.
I'll give you the thing for free. I'll eat that.
Sure.
But if you can pick up the shipping and handling, so I don't know, it's like $7-8 or something. I don't even know. And then we'll shoot that thing out to you. You get a digital file with your sermon outlines and videos, and you get a gospel primer in the mail like in a week or something. And the reason I want to do that is because I know when you hold that thing in your hand and you look over those outlines, you're going to go like, man, I want this for my group. I want this for my whole church.
Well, we hear from pastors a lot that want to, that have the question of like, well, I would love to make that shift in my church. I just don't know how to do it. And you go like, like, here you go, man.
Here's a leg up.
Yeah,
I mean, it's
run all
the
your
gospel.
Yeah,
You know,
here's a
like,
sermon series. You can have all your small groups go through it. Everyone's working together. You got the videos.
same language. Yeah,
It's perfect.
So I hope that's going to be another layer of help.
Yeah.
The primers are already a good deal in the sense of they work. They're
Yep.
easy. Everybody can follow along. But my heart's for leaders out there, and I wanted to just, leg up. So here's 8 weeks where you don't have to like kill yourself to come up with a prep, something awesome,
Yeah.
and then a resource that goes with it, and like I said, the videos and all that stuff. So yeah.
Okay, so we're going to give people the way to get that free copy here coming up. But let's jump to the big three because we're running out of time.
Great.
And you can, we do this every week. The way you get it for free is by going to everydaydisciple.com/big three. Again, that's everydaydisciple.com/big three. Caesar, what would you say are the big three takeaways that you want us to leave with right now?
Yep. So in light of gospel fluency, big three, don't settle for a canned, small and limited gospel that's primarily focused on your afterlife and getting to heaven. And don't just stay stuck there with your people. Okay. Like you start to learn and proclaim and teach them a much bigger gospel. The gospel is amazing good news for every aspect of life and relationships today. And we like to say the gospel is the answer to every question. So I want people to know that. Secondly, believe that you really can learn to see and speak and experience the gospel in every area of your life, and that it will totally transform your personal relationship with God and others, and it can revolutionize your church and missional community or small group. Like, believe that. Like, this isn't a bridge too far, and it's why we created this step-by-step, baby steps over 8 weeks. You can do it. And that kind of leads to the third thing, like the action step here of the big three. Jump over to our website and pick up your free copy of the primer.
Yeah, it's
like
good.
Get it, get the sermon outlines, videos, all that. Just, check it out. And I think you will, like Heath and myself and others who have found such great help in it and
It's been amazing.
and kind of breakthrough, I think you're going to be blessed by them.
Yeah, again, it's one of those resources where you go like, oh man, I could tell my friends, and until they experience it, they're going to, they're bombarded with resources. But this has been one of the most fruitful things that we've ever found to be in our missional community. All of us tracking together, some really deep stuff coming out, us working through stuff together, speaking the gospel to one another,
Change our
listening
marriages.
to our, it's been amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, so to get that again, all you got to do is go to everydaydisciple.com/big three. We're going to give you the notes for this week's big three. We're going to give you the link to pick up your free copy of the Gospel Primer.
Plus, that'll also be on the site.
If you're enjoying this podcast, join us on our Facebook group. All you got to do is go to the search bar on the top and type in Everyday Disciple Podcast, growing community of people there, commenting, going a little bit deeper with some of these podcasts. And then if you're enjoying the content, if you wouldn't mind going over to iTunes, if you subscribe, you'll get every Monday morning, you'll wake up to a new alert saying there's another podcast ready for you.
Hey.
Rate the show with lots of stars. And then also if you write up a short review for us, it helps us not only
We might even
encouraging-
read your review.
Yeah, we've been doing that lately.
Yeah, we might read your review. Thank you for that.
well,
We're so encouraged by that.
Yeah, it helps us get the podcast out to other people as well. So, thanks for joining us today. For more information on this show and to get loads of free discipleship resources, visit everydaydisciple.com. And remember, you really can live with the spiritual freedom and relational peace that Jesus promised every day.